to be honest, it was unique. They just didn't put me in a position to make it unique. You know, I was in a position where I was playing not my position, and being able to be here and Coach Malone allowing me to be able to use my speed, use my transition skill to be able to make other guys better. Makes the game easy.
This right here was a clip from Russell Westbrook before the NBA season started. And there were a lot of people, mainly residing or supporting LA teams, who called Russ a clown for this. Well, it's 2025 now, and Russell Westbrook is playing the most efficient, the most impactful, and the best basketball we have seen from him in years. And no, this is not a new Russell Westbrook. This is just the best version of the same Russell Westbrook we have seen for years, and the last few games have encapsulated all of the best attributes Russ is bringing to Denver, because over his last 9 games, Russ is averaging over 15 points, 7 assists, and 6 boards on 60% from the field. Yeah, you remember all those jokes about Russ's efficiency early in the season? Well, Russ has now been one of the most efficient guards in basketball over the last month, and the thing is, I don't see this stopping, because whilst he's not going to have perfect triple-doubles every single night, but Russ is now playing in a role and with a team where he doesn't need to be a spot-up shooter. He doesn't need to take those pull-up mid-range jumpers, because if he knows he cuts or gets a handoff from Nikola Jokic, he will be able to get to the rim. And there was...
Okay, I want to stop it there for the first portion of this video. A couple of things stands out right off the rip. So, number one, the best thing he said so far, not saying it's the best thing, but the most important thing that he said is that he no longer has to be a spot-up shooter and all that. So what's helping Russell Westbrook right now is he's able to be a guy off the ball. Even when he's on the ball, he's able to pass it off to Nikola Jokic, come off of a back screen or whatever it is. Like, there's so much space on the floor and so much attention go into a guy like Jokic that it automatically opens up the floor for his teammates, right? This is why Aaron Gordon, whenever you look at, like when they're in the playoffs, you'll see Aaron Gordon would have a game where he'll go crazy. This is why Michael Porter Jr. eats. Everybody eats when you're around a guy like Jokic because he's such a threat. So what they've learned and what they've done well is they could live with some of the stuff that Russ may not do well, because with a guy like Jokic, he's gonna clean up so many of those things because everything runs through him. You no longer have to let everything run through a guy like Westbrook, which is what a lot of teams before were trying to do.
There's no better example of that than the perfect triple-double he had against Utah. Watch his first bucket of the game. Michael Porter Jr. drives into the paint, can't get the layup to go, and Russ is there to tip it in. Just that extra effort that we often see from him.
That's
but it
what
was
he
the
does,
next
though.
6 buckets that were much more interesting. Here he is getting the ball in transition, and he might be 36, but how many players can stay in front of him in transition? Not many.
Not many.
Any, as he Euro steps around Jordan Clarkson for the layup. I mean, just a filthy Euro step. Fast forward to the next quarter, and this time Russ gives it up to Jokic, but there are 2 key details here. Watch Michael Porter Jr. bring Lauri Markkanen out of the paint, and then once the double goes to Jokic, he finds Russ cutting, and there is no size or shot blocker at the rim. I mentioned this because later in the game, we saw Jokic get the ball in the post again, and again they went to double, this time with Sexton helping off Russ, and instead of waiting for the pass at the 3-point line, he attacks the space, getting to the rim for the dunk. And this...
So that's really good coaching, right? I've on this channel, I've raved about Michael Malone's coaching and everything for a long time. So what do you do in coaching? You adjust, right? Everything you do is based on your adjustments and how you approach games, because the truth is, when you're a coach, there's only so much you can do. You got to hope that your plan aligns with what your players want to do that day. That's just the reality. Either your players are going to execute or they won't. Everything you put into the hands of the players, but it's your job to get them to play a certain way. What the coaching staff for the Lakers did poorly with him was, like he said, he would hold the corner when they would double Anthony Davis. He would hold the corner when they would double LeBron James. And he's not a shooter. So what do teams do? They just help off of him. And then maybe he was just so unmotivated, or, he just didn't love his position that he wouldn't make those cuts. But now when you're a coach and you empower a player to do certain things like, Russ, like, you could do this, like, cut here. Like, a lot of y'all would think that's like you babying a player, but no, it's encouraging a player, and it's called points of emphasis, right? Emphasizing certain things that we need you to be really good at to make our team better. And it's obvious that Mike Malone did a really good job of that.
This was the common theme with every single one of Russ's buckets against Utah. He was getting to the rim, whether that was in transition like here by attacking Sexton with that quick left to right crossover, whether it was making those extra effort plays, or it was working alongside Nikola Jokic and his gravity as an off-ball cutter and mover, which is exactly what some of us predicted would happen when Russ made the move to Denver, because the biggest X factor in this move was obviously the MVP. This is not to discredit Russ, who has been phenomenal as a playmaker and has made great decisions. He has given them energy, effort, hustle on defense, and all over the floor. But when has Russ played with a guy who can always find him on cuts, and more importantly, who will be doubled 16 feet from the basket with the other team's big out on an island, which gives Russ that space and that lane to get to the rim. You saw it against Atlanta as well. Just look at the chemistry on this play, with Russ giving the ball up to Jokic, cutting backdoor, and it's a perfect cut and pass for the layup. You hear players talk about it, but when you play with a guy like Nikola Jokic or a guy like Russell Westbrook, you are more willing to move off the ball and cut, because you know if you do that, they will find you. And this is also why you see Russ's numbers so much better with the starters than the bench. It's not just because of the minutes, but he's able to play to his strengths as a scorer, whilst also being able to have some spacing and an elite pick and roll threat in Nikola Jokic as a playmaker, which has a lot of people saying Russ should be a permanent starter with Christian Braun coming off the bench. Now, the only problem with that is whilst Russ is better as a starter and he has been fantastic and deserved that position, so is Braun. And at least with Russ coming off the bench, you get the playmaking that can elevate guys like Watson, Strother, and even DeAndre Jordan in those roles.
So that right there, that's important, right? Because if you make the argument for this is the reason why Russ is getting better, right? The reason he's better is because he can feed off a guy like Jokic, not always being the primary ball handler. Like when Jokic gets it, he could back cut, he could get creative in his ways of getting to the basket. But if you put him with the second unit, doesn't that now put him in the position of being the primary ball handler, which is exactly kind of what you almost don't want him to do? If you saying that his strengths are now coming off handoffs, dribble handoffs, back cuts, corner cuts, like you can't do that on the ball, right? So I wonder what the balance will be there. Of course, maybe he'll start. Let's say he starts with the first unit, and then let's say when the first unit guys come up, maybe he stays in for a few minutes to now carry that load, and then bring in the first unit again, and maybe they replace him with Braun. Like, they would obviously have to find creative ways to do it. But in my humble opinion, if you go to that, then it's kind of contrary to exactly what I think is already working for you, which is keeping him off the ball and allowing him to be an amazing athlete, which he is, and allowing him to get downhill in a lot of other creative ways other than trying to get off the dribble, trying to get off pick and roll actions.
I think if Russ continues to play like this, Denver will have no choice but to play him as a starter. But the biggest key for Denver, which we have seen more of, is just ensuring Jokic and Russ share a lot of those minutes together, because that chemistry makes the Nuggets look like a different team.
I mean, the reality is it's two of the greatest passes to ever play the game,
regardless of who else is on the floor.
On the same team.
And that's what Russ said himself. He's the best player in the world. My job is to make the game easy for him, and he does it for everyone else. And this is absolutely happening, because whilst Jokic has helped unlock Russ as a scorer, Russ is doing the same for Jokic. I mean, look at this dime from Russ to Jokic cutting back.
Wow,
or a
good
play
cut.
like this, which is really common
I love
from
Jokic,
where
man.
Russ gets the ball at the three-point line, and Jokic flashes to the middle of the floor on that quick cut before dropping it in. And this is really effective for more than one reason. It utilizes Jokic as a cutter getting to the rim, but it also makes Russ dangerous beyond the arc without having to shoot. It's not just Jokic either who has been benefiting from Russ's playmaking. Even at 50 years old, even after signing Dario Saric, the Nuggets have had to play DeAndre Jordan because, well,
He said
Dario
50 years
Saric
old.
stinks. He's not good. But the silver lining for that is the fact Russ and DJ have developed some nice chemistry. You wish that the Nuggets weren't relying on DeAndre Jordan in the year 2025. That sounds crazy to say, but they are. And Russ has
Shout out
helped to make
DeAndre
his
Jordan.
life a lot easier. His
Spanish
ability
pick
to
and roll.
find it.
Gotta love it. If you don't know what a Spanish pick and roll is, here it is in its best form. Got a guard coming here to set a box screen on the 5-man's defender. What does that do? Alters his path. Now he's going to roll and he's going to pop, and usually this is going to be the look that's going to be open.
A lot easier
But
with his
in this
ability
case,
to find him in pick and roll
sometimes the roll is open
situations.
too.
And I think this speaks to a bigger point about Russ as well. People have constantly
And this is
talked
Russ with the
about
second
the
unit
good
now.
and bad with him. The playmaking has always been there, but you worry about the shooting and the amount of shots he might take. Almost every shot Russ is taking right now is perfect. Even when his threes aren't falling, he takes them when he has to and makes enough. But if he doesn't have a lane or an opportunity to get to the rim, he will feed his big man or finds an open shooter. And that's what Michael Malone said as well.
And what I admire so much about him, aside from the leadership and toughness that he brings every single day, is he's got no ego. He says, I'm playing with that guy. I'm going to play through him. I'm going to make him better. And if I do that, that means I'm doing my job to help this team win.
That has been very true, because Russ has played this season with zero ego. He has done what is best for the team no matter the role or no matter the position, and that goes both ways. Because another aspect of Russ's game that has helped Denver has been his defense. The Nuggets haven't been great defensively, and I know I just said he's helped them defensively, but it takes more than one guy to be a great defense. It takes the entire team. And whilst Russ might not be Dyson Daniels or Drew Holiday, he gives you energy and effort every single night. Just look at him.
And that's half. That's not even half. That's 75% of the battle of defense. Energy, effort. You will be very surprised how many players can actually play defense when they fully like fresh. Like most players can. It's when you get tired. It's when you can't play through fatigue. That's when you could really start to see the ones that separate themselves. The ones that have that will, that finding a way mentality of getting a stop. Most guys will just fold, right? Like when you have a guy like Russell Westbrook who thrives off of energy, who thrives off of that, even at his age, like he's gonna be a naturally better defender just because of effort.
On this play from the game against Utah. He initially tips the Sexton pass in the corner. He tries to dive for the loose ball, which he can't quite reach, but he doesn't give up because he gets himself back in the play, and this time he gets to the pass in time, getting out in transition and throwing it down. This is what I mean when I say he's helped the defense. It's that energy that he brings. It's that leadership and the vocal aspect of things that helps this team more than anything. Well, I can't say more than anything when he's averaging 15, 7, and 7 a game, but that adds to the production as well. And I think with the way Russ is playing on this team, there's no reason to believe he can't keep scoring this efficiently and playmaking this well. It's just a perfect fit. There's no other way to say it.
Big shout out to 6-Man. Amazing video, amazing breakdown. Couple things I want to say about it. Now, there's no secret that I'm a Lakers fan, right? If that makes you click off this video, wait. I'm not a delusional guy. I'm a Lakers fan because I've always been a Kobe guy. I'm very objective. A lot of people in my comments have always told me the thing that we like is that you can be objective. You can see right or wrong and not really show so much of your biases. I'll make jokes here and there, of course, but for the most part, I love basketball more than I love anything else, right? So here's what I'll say. When the Lakers signed Russell Westbrook, I think the video is probably still on my channel, I hated it. And I hated it before they played. I thought that getting another ball-dominant guard that doesn't shoot it well was just not a good recipe for the Lakers, right? And also, I'm very aware that playing for the Lakers is probably the worst thing you could do as a role player in the NBA. If you're not a star, I mean, it ain't no easier for the stars. But if you're a role player that don't show up, they destroy you. You got to show up in LA, right? And he didn't do that. They exposed him in a lot of ways, not being able to shoot the ball, not being able to, I don't know, make simple mid-range shots. He was shooting the ball on the backboard, doing a bunch of stuff that, you know, it was a lot of pressure. He's human at the end of the day. He's a professional, but he's a human. I get that. I gave him a hard time from time to time. But one thing I will say that I appreciated about him, he always gave effort. He always showed up ready to play, regardless of what was going on. Like, regardless of the media trying to tarnish his name, regardless of all these things going on, he showed up to play. Like, I respect that, right? Now, in his new role with the Nuggets, here's what I really think matters. What really matters is the fact that Nikola Jokic is the best player in the world. I don't care what y'all have to say. Respectfully, he's the best player in the world. He's been that, in my opinion, for about 2-3 years now. He attracts so much attention that no matter where he touches the ball, they gotta double him. So now you got two guarding the ball, which means there's always a guy that's open. Now, of course, Michael Malone, being the great coach that he is, understands if somebody is open, there are ways for them to score. Most likely, cuts are going to be open, right? Because if there's 3 guys defending 4, only so much they can stop. One is going to drop to cover the basket. One will be in a passing lane trying to cut off a pass after a double, and the other one will be on the far side away, right? So now what does that leave? Usually gaps in the defense. What do you find when you got the best passing big man of all time? Like, you find the gaps. Russell Westbrook has found ways to make himself involved in that. Amazing coaching, amazing approach to the game. This is just great. I love the situation for him. It makes a lot of sense. And I think that one thing that the Lakers could learn, Lakers fans could learn, the Lakers organization could learn, coaching staffs can learn, is empowering players matter, right? Like, you might think, like I said, it's coddling players, it's this, it's that. Like, most of the battle of coaching is managing people, managing players. What does that mean? It's making sure that you get them to the point where they're ready to perform at their peak performance. It's obvious that the Nugget staff have done an amazing job of that, right? Because now Russell Westbrook is confident again. He's finding his joy back in basketball. And what does that equal? What does that equate to? Him playing the way that you want him to play. Now, on the flip side, when you go to Los Angeles and the crowd is destroying you, the fan base is destroying you, you don't know how the front office feel about you, you don't know how your teammates feel about you, what does that usually lead to? You being unhappy. So, like, that matters, right? And at the end of the day, these are professional basketball players and the best of the best to do it. He's going to go in the Hall of Fame. If you could find a way to get him to play with joy, you get this product. So y'all let me know your thought down below. I love the situation for Russell Westbrook. I wish him nothing but the best in his career. And I'm glad that he found somewhere where he could be himself and he could use his strengths to win games. But if you made it this far, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, turn your notification bell so you know anytime that I post. Until the next video, I love y'all to that. Peace.